I need plenty of nutmeg today.
That's a lot.
No, it's just about right. It's Friday. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. Fire's going over here. Warm the place up. Ryan is behind the bar and ready to serve. There he is. He's been working hard. Ryan's been working hard today. Looks good, Ryan. And on the other side of the time vortex on the console is Aaron.
Hey everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. And Ryan's camera is not working.
Ryan's camera's not working.
So I apologize if you want a close-up of Ryan. You'll have to wait till we fix it.
The camera obscura. Apparently the sunlight isn't working right.
I feel bad for all of you. I'm sorry that you can't see me today.
I think they'll be able to see a corner of you.
Well,
Close
I'd like
enough,
to
right?
brighten up everybody's day.
Careful. Oh, you're messing. Bad things are happening, Aaron.
There he is.
That was painful.
Well, lucky everyone gets to see me. Hello.
On this side
Hi.
of the time vortex, I felt like I was...
It did feel... I felt the shift.
So I was gone last week. Good job, you guys, on last week's visit with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I know I did. I was traveling in my buggy at the time, and we tuned in, as it were, and enjoyed that. And in fact, you will start to, hopefully on Monday, enjoy the first fruits of that trip. We should have just a blockbuster, fun video on Monday. I know I enjoyed it. One of those, sometimes you go and you just come up with content when you didn't expect it, and it was one of those kind of, hey, I think I'm going to do this, and I think it turned out great. So, a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And those guys, I think, had fun cutting it. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I haven't seen a single thing from it.
Yeah, well, you've been too busy.
I know.
Ryan has been working on the print catalog, this next year's print catalog. And I don't know if I want to point you guys to it yet or not, because if you sign up for it right now, you'll get last year's catalog probably instead of
probably
next year's. So maybe next week we'll talk more about the print catalog, and you guys can get in on the brand new one that's going to be coming out. And before I get any further, I want to talk about kitchen pepper.
Can we clear something up? Well, okay,
What?
never mind.
What do we want to clear?
I did not break the camera. It didn't view me. People in the chat say that I broke the camera probably because I'm that ugly, and that's what happens to cameras when they view individuals like me.
All I know is the last time the pineapple was here, it worked fine.
I didn't mean to interrupt you right when you were actually talking about something important.
It's all right.
Sorry.
I don't mind. Kitchen pepper. If you guys are interested in kitchen pepper, we did a kitchen pepper episode.
Last summer.
Was it all the way until last summer?
Was it?
Time
Jeez Louise.
flies. Anyway, we've been working on the kitchen pepper product for all that time. And we do have some Nutmeg Traders kitchen pepper product available if you're interested in some pre-made kitchen pepper. You can make your own, and it's fun. But if you want some Nutmeg Tavern, Nutmeg Traders kitchen pepper, he'll put a link in the description section.
It's in there right now.
There it is.
Throw it
Or
in there
the
again.
chat is what I meant to say.
Chat, yeah. There it is.
I gotta, because I wasn't here last week and I didn't give those guys the new Patreon names, I'm gonna buzz through the first third of these before I get to the topic today. I'm not gonna go through a whole bunch of them, but if I don't get some of them, I'm gonna spend like the whole last half of the thing. And because there's so many wonderful folks that are helping us out on Patreon, so I wanted to get to those real quick. The brand new ones, this last 2 weeks, Harv Zegstru, David Boatman, Jacob Flanagan, Bill McMahon, Frank McLeod, Jay Skiles, somebody that's just here as Paul, and Ransom Roland. That's the first third, so that I can get these and not have them just huge. 15.
That's the first third? Wow.
Yeah, it's the first third. Topic for today. unless you have anything else you want to talk
I'm
about.
excited about this. I want to get right into it.
Okay, topic for today. We did men's hairstyles. Again, I am not a hairstyle expert of the time period, and it's always good to kind of step in and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a quick picture study. I'm going to do maybe a little bit of reading. The topic could go, we could probably talk for a month solid about hairstyles and pick out some really interesting things. But we're just going to, surface level, skim over the top of women's hairstyles at the time period so we can get a feel for it. And pictures are one of the best ways to do that. Let's start up. So again, I wanted to back up in time a little before the 18th century, and we're going to look at a little bit more necessarily than hairstyles because hats are part of it. Other styles help us to see what's going on here. And this is pre-18th century. This is late 17th century. And we've got, this really kind of sets the stage for our hairstyles. Now, a lot of these women are going to be very well-to-do because it's easy to find hairstyles for fashion plates and women's portraits in the time period. So it's easy to find high-class hairstyles, a little bit trickier to see what's going on kind of as we go down the economic levels, but we've got some of those pictures too. But we start out here with an expensive portrait. She's got this nice flowing hair, a lot of nice texture. It's kind of built up. It's not sort of, for the time period, men in this time period would be wearing a very full wig. She's got fairly full hair, kind of built up a little bit, nice and curly, obviously probably styled and taken a lot of time at it. Now we're going to skip ahead here, and this is, 40 years later, but, early 18th century. This is working class women here. Maybe we can even almost see two levels. The woman that's holding the cabbage is probably a little bit lower than the woman who's on the other side purchasing, but gives us again an idea about sort of either very, very working class and maybe servant class a little bit higher on the other side here. And the hairstyles, they're very, very small. This lady in the yellow, that's almost like a very short cut, pixie cut almost, not very full hair, very under control, not this, for the time period, again, men's hair, if they're going to be wearing a wig, it would be a big, fluffy wig. Even the man that's right behind her in the cart, one of them has probably got his head shaved for a wig. The other one, very full hair. She does not have full hair. None of the three women have very full hair.
I like her high crown straw hat there,
yes,
too.
she does have a high crown straw hat and, not long flowing hair underneath it. Probably women in a working situation, boy, you don't want to have to deal with long flowing hair. So they're wearing caps. Those are, sort of necessary for women in an outdoor situation. The one's wearing a very full hat to keep the sun off her face. The other one probably, a little bit fancier. There you go.
I'd like one other thing about this painting that I think is interesting is I was just having a conversation with my wife the other day about whether or not their vegetables would grow nearly as large as ours do.
Look at those things.
Yeah, there've been so much. We do all kinds of tampering to make ours prettier and larger, but that cabbage is huge.
Now, maybe the artist is exaggerating them a little bit, saying, look how rich and bountiful our produce is. So you will get some overstatements sometimes in paintings. This one doesn't look like that necessarily. So, yeah, maybe they had some big produce. This is a fishmonger's stall. And here's a lady that is negotiating for some lobster, obviously, here in this guy's hand. She is probably, fairly well-to-do-ish. She's wearing pearls. But her hair, again, very short, or it's put up, but it doesn't look like there's enough room under that hat to have a whole lot of hair that's, up in a style like this. So definitely off the neck and a fairly short style. Still early 18th century. Now 1740, and we are in a room here of fairly well-to-do, and I like this picture because it gives us what's going on with men's hairstyle at the same time as what's going on with women's hairstyle. And I think you can see implied by the female on the extreme right that she's probably got some hair up, inside that hat. So it probably comes down lower, but she's wearing it up. It's much easier to deal with your hair in an up situation. Maybe they're not able to, wash their hair every single day. So it's, you can hide a lot in your hair is up. They all have very, very similar hair and short caps and everything. It's all being hidden by that. Whereas the men are all obviously wearing wigs and semi-full wigs at that.
It's interesting. In the chat, there's an ongoing discussion. Women did not cut their hair short. Jane Austen says that they did. And yeah, it's interesting. People have strong feelings about this.
Well, obviously they don't have hair way down their back, or else it would not fit under those hats. The hair in this time period is not massively full, and these are probably all English pictures here at the beginning. There's not powdering going on to change the hair color. Notice all the men's wigs are whitish, grayish, whatever. That's not happening with the women's hair in this time period with this painting. 1758, he's wearing a wig. They're not wearing wigs. Women aren't wearing wigs. Her hair is, nice brown there. The children have similar hair. This is a very well-to-do family. In this sort of portraiture, they aren't wearing hats. She might wear hats if she was, out on the town or in public, but in this sort of private setting, it's not needed. She's wearing pearls in her hair. Again, very, very well-to-do. Her hair is nice, and you can just see, it's not uptight against her head, because you can see just around on that other shoulder, just a little bit of hair coming out. So it sits on top of her shoulder. And you can see the girls probably have very, very similar hair, that it's just held up in the back. Probably comes down a little bit further, but not a lot.
Are those pearls in her hair?
Yes, pearls in her hair, even though one child has a pearl drop, or maybe it's, costume in the child's hair. Again, for portraiture like this, you're gonna be showing off your very, very best. So this is the best right here. Now, going exactly the opposite, which this is Sandby, one of his cries of London. This woman is selling sort of like the last confession of an executed murderer. That's what she's got in her hand. It's like, buy the last confession. So this is 1763. She is bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, and her hair is scraggly, longish. She has a hat that's covering it all. We can see the gentleman behind her, probably part of the same group. Again, kind of, scraggly hair, as opposed to the super nice hair in the last painting. The way the hair, of course, is done is one of those, you're showing off or not showing off in public, as it were, in a painting like this. So this is, I believe, a lady with probably, a servant class person beside her. I'm not even sure if I'm willing to go there. That might be a daughter. I didn't read this really, really closely, because the pair isn't that much different. And the person holding the basket with the shells, well, she's got on something like a coral necklace. So, maybe they aren't actually that far apart. Although, notice she's showing her elbows.
They're talking in the chat about fake hair, not in the form of a wig, but in the form of extensions.
Yes, that's something that's going on as we get a little bit further into the 18th century. Still, we're here with very natural looking hair, braided, covered. This one is sort of like the girl on the right. It's braided and sort of stacked up on top. Again, not on the shoulder. Both of the hairstyles are very similar in what's going on here. 1770, and things are starting to pile up just a little bit. This is the very beginning of a real change. So far, there's not a lot of change in what's going on with hair. But you can see that the forehead is swept up a little bit higher, and the whole thing is a little bit more full. This is 1770, and things are starting to change a little bit.
Is that a charcoal drawing?
It's an engraving.
Oh, okay.
And she's even got an earring. Sometimes we don't see a lot of just a plain earring kind of like that. But here the hair is starting to change a little bit. And we'll start to see it change a lot more. 1771, and it's getting stacked up higher. It's much more full. It might even be difficult to execute hair like this without some kind of extension or something that's up hidden underneath that hair.
Sure.
Wire, all sorts of things start to get used in this time period so that the hair can stack up and do crazy things. This is the beginning of crazy hair.
This is when all the cartoon artists start having a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have any. I think I left out the cartoons, but like last week we had the hair that was like 4 foot tall, right? That was a joke, but not that far from a joke. This is a working class person in the kitchen. Her hair is 1771, same time period, starting to stack up. She's got ribbons in it. It's, there's a little bit hanging down the back, and, it's starting to stack up there. But this, again, is, working class, so it isn't in the extreme at all.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Did you have a halfway stopping point?
Yeah, we can stop anywhere in here for halfway, just as we start to get into, crazy hairland. We can stop with this one. Her hair is powdered. This is the first one where you start to see, wait a minute, that hair isn't a natural color. This person is, certainly younger looking in the face, and yet she's got white gray. I mean, it's sort of kind of hazily looking. Her hair, she's got pearls in it, and it's teased and much fuller all the way around, falling down across her shoulder, and the color starts to happen here. So powdering your hair starts to really come in here in the 1770s, and apparently they did multiple kinds of colors. So you would see, some kind of whites and grays, other colors. So what we might consider is like, really, they had like pink hair? Yeah, they might powder their hair different colors that we would find. It's like, I can't believe they would do that in the 18th century. Yeah, yep. It's definitely changing in different places more. So in Great Britain, you're going to have a slower. So France is leading all the fashions in this time period. So the hair is building up faster in France. It's getting powdered faster, and of course, it's going to linger in Great Britain longer. Whereas it starts to change away from that in England, and of course, the United States or the American colonies at the time period. You're probably seeing, again, another 5 and 10 year lag in fashion. So we can step away and do some questions and whatnot.
Okay, this is on Super Chat, Cal25. Does the homestead construction follow in 18th century? Just curious.
I'm sorry. Interpret that for me?
I'm trying to understand. It says, does the homestead construction follow in the 18th century?
Is it? I don't know if it's like a
Like
play
follow
on
an
words?
18th century.
guide or
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can look at it in two different ways. Whether the individual projects are sort of, whether they're following the steps of 18th century, or whether the whole kind of concept of would they have done these things in this sort of order, right? And yes, it's a yes and no. We have to kind of manipulate the order we do things in the things that we're able to do, the items that we have access to, resources, both human resources, who's got the right kind of skills and the right kind of materials that we have available. Some things they would do in the 18th century, well, we're not going to do. We're not going to chop down a primeval forest and burn it up for potash because, well, we don't have those kinds of resources. But in other ways, we're doing things in the order that they would have done them when that is possible and seem, appropriate. And individual projects the same kind of way. So, building the tools to build the tools to do the thing, well, we have to do exactly those same things.
So in the chat, there's a lot of questions about, well, number one, was the powder initially a way of drying up oil so that your hair appears cleaner, or?
So I think the origination of the powder it's sort of seemingly, counterintuitive or backwards. It starts with men, and seemingly, or some folks think that it happens because there was, and just like the wigs, the wigs come in because someone who has very, very full hair and starts to lose their hair prematurely, and he wants to still have that full hair look. He starts wearing wigs, royalty or whatnot, and then everybody follows that trend, and everybody starts to wear wigs and tries to have that same. Well, the same thing happens with somebody prematurely grays. They powder their hair to make it look like they're still young, and then that idea of powdering their hair really comes in. It's still more common with men early on and all the way through the 18th century until it goes out of fashion in the late 18th century. And women only sort of follow suit a little bit later with how those hairstyles are, how those hairstyles change.
Right. Now you'll see a lot of powdering the hair just to dry it, get the oil or the odor or something to go away. So a lot of people in the chat are wondering about that.
I don't think that was the main driving thing, but it may have been a, sort of a after the fact, hey, isn't that nice?
Did people sell their hair for money?
I think the answer is yes. There was so much demand for hair because of hair additions and wigs and all that it had to come from someplace. So undoubtedly people are selling hair. I don't have the resources for that at hand.
Do you know if the powder was in any way perfumed?
Yes, there were some perfumed hair powders, and the hair powders are of different types. So there's there's sort of low quality stuff that's basically flour, made with wheat.
Yeah, that one would be so great.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can make bread with my hair, and then different qualities as they go, and of course some of those are going to be scented as you go up in quality.
And then other people are asking when they dyed their hair, what were they dyeing it with?
Good question, and apparently red hair was not popular, and so red hair was dyed other colors, but sometimes the dyeing was actually happening just with the powder itself.
Oh,
so you could affect the hair color with the powder instead of having to dye the actual hair. And I don't know about I haven't done the research for what particular things they were using for that.
Another question in the chat is, how often were the wealthy bathing?
Those are very difficult to really nail down and easily answer, and I think that's going to vary depending on.
I know I'm giving you some hard
culture.
ones.
Yeah, those are really tough ones to answer.
But they're asking good questions, and I want to make sure.
There can be some people with those answers, but you really want them to be nailed down to, okay, where does that come from? Because even when you find original sources that point to one thing or another, a lot of times you'll get conflicting answers because it's sort of personal preference.
So Jeffrey is in Super Chat. He says, I just got a house that was built in 1803 in Stratford, Connecticut. Do you have anything you can tell me briefly about that time? Thank you. Love the channel. 1803.
Well, it would be interesting to see what that architecture is like. There's some, architecture in the time period is, going through these changes, architecture and how houses are built and what they look like. The style of a house is changing, just like it changes today, just like clothes change and hair changes. Houses and architecture is an amazing study. So every time we have a house, that says, well, this was in 1803, you can, it's probably been changed over the years, and the outside may look completely different than it used to. So you have to go back to 1803 and say, okay, were they doing neoclassical things? How was this house? How did it really look in 1803? It's a beautiful, wonderful study, and there's some great things to look at. But all those things also are affected by that location of the house. Where did he say it was at?
It was in Connecticut.
In Connecticut, right. So, house in Connecticut is going to be different than a house in Virginia, and is going to be different than a house in New Hampshire or Florida. I have just been spending all my time in architecture of Spanish, the Spanish colonial, so it's just like totally amazing looking at the architecture changes going on in Spanish and British Florida for the 18th century. So yeah, the study of architecture and houses is amazing.
Pickle Jars for Hillary sends in the joke. What is a fish's favorite tool? It's a seesaw. Kiltoid Vibe sends in pattern, oops, with tainted brain. So, yes, we answered the question correctly about the cabin.
Good.
Bjorn. Boy, I'm just not going to read that one, Bjorn. Sorry, bud.
Next.
And then somebody else in Super Chat just received my long trade knife. Great quality and incredibly sharp. Awesome.
Glad you enjoyed
Speed and Style Tony, sorry about the breaking the camera comment. Oh, I was just joking. I know you didn't call me ugly. It's all right. Thanks.
It's hard to offend, Ryan.
It is it's very difficult. Yep. Chad.
We try and try. Go ahead.
Chad sends in a super chat that just says 100. 100.00.
Yes.
We got 100. Thank you. Cynthia. Gorgeous hair, worth the crazy. All right. I think so. Nathan Kirk. My payday is your payday. Ooh. Well, Nathan, let's make this a regular weekly occurrence. We really, no. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Luke G. I was wondering if you've ever tapped any maple trees on the homestead for boiling in the syrup and maple sugar. Love the channel.
Well, on my parents' homestead, yes. On the particular piece of ground where the cabin is at, there is no sugar maple to tap. Maybe we could tap walnut, which apparently you can do, but I haven't done that on our locale.
In the outside of Super Chat, in the regular chat here, people are surprised that there may be bear fat in here. When I first got to Townsends, I did a big research project on pomatum, and yeah, you'd be surprised what kind of fat people are using to style their hair. But bear fat is one of them. And they're also wondering about. I lost it. Go ahead, John.
Let me do the next. Yes.
Real quick.
Yes.
Let's see if we can get to our 1,000 likes. What was it? The Townsend 1,000?
The Townsend 1,000.
Yeah. We don't quite have that many people in here, but I think we can.
We got people rolling.
Call
through,
up your neighbors. Get them on here.
I bet you Matthew's not in here, and it's got to be. That's the problem.
Call your neighbors.
Quick.
Quick, turn on Townsend's.
Let's get the second third of these brand new Patreon people. Peter Manelli, Louis Sargent, Captain Portugal, Amy Petty, Kyle, Jim Dewey, Oh, Courtney Smothers. Whoever writes this out needs to get better handwriting. Janet Anderson, Mark Masser, and Michael Earl. Again, thank you, brand new Patreon folks.
So I'm going to drop this link for the kitchen pepper again.
Kitchen pepper.
Let me tell you guys, this kitchen pepper, we used it in a video to flavor pork chop. It was delicious at my house. If anything needs something extra but you don't know quite what it is,
and
kitchen pepper.
I guarantee it's got nutmeg in it.
Yes. Nutmeg and clove, black pepper, some other great stuff. There's a video on it if you search kitchen pepper on our channel, but you can buy it right here, and it is delicious.
Let's go to that last half / 2/3 of that. I got a lot of pictures. There we go. You want big hair. So you might think this was a joke, but it's not. In fact,
it looks like it reminds me of the giant in Time Bandits.
Yeah. There's more than one. There's more than one of these ship hair pictures, and they're not a joke. I mean, there's some that's like huge, right? And it is a joke, but this one isn't. So if you ever thought it'd be fun to have a ship in your hair, well, they did it.
Which I have thought from time to time.
Do you need a ship in your hair?
Right.
Think about it.
We
Sometimes.
could just get like a little boat.
Not that often, but
Right.
Well, if you're going to get a boat, why get a little boat?
Yeah.
I think you'd look good with
If a boat doesn't have
I think
7
so
sails,
too. That's why I think about it.
if there aren't 7 sails, she ain't a boat.
That's right.
Could get a baseball cap with a ship on the top of it.
Yeah.
But there you go. Fashion plates start to get popular in this time period, and it's a way for that French fashions to get shown in other parts because, of course, they don't have movies to see what fashions are like. So we can start to see what French fashions. Hair is big. It's big. It's big. It's very frizzled and full, and this idea of it being kind of colored white gray. I don't think that's an exaggeration here. That it's a little bit more typical in this time period to have big hair and big hats to cover your big hair. And it's really peaking. I think 1780, 1785 is peak hair.
It's when all the milliners quit their job.
Yeah,
I'm done with
this
this.
is
racket.
crazy. I mean, look at the hat down here at this bottom. It's like you gotta have a cartwheel hat to fit over the top of that.
Well, the bottom right one, I glanced at, looked like there was like a kid sitting on it.
Yeah.
Like his blonde hair on the top.
Right.
You know how they've got like those backpacks, baby backpacks
Yeah.
for hiking? Just throw them up in the hair.
And there are exaggerated pictures again for this. There are cartoons about big hair.
Right.
These are not cartoons.
This is the real armchair
This
hair.
is the real hair, or at least what they think is real hair. So 1790. So real big hair is actually going out of fashion in France by now. But these for ladies, and we have at least 2 generations here. We might have 3, but I think it's just 2 generations. They all have exactly the same hair. And in fact, it feels like the same face. Like they had the same person sit in 4 different spots, but they all have the same hair, powdered, almost feels like a wig. It's probably got all kinds of added hair to it. Very frizzly, very full. And I mean, again, you got to have a hat the size of a 55-gallon drum to fit over your hair. And they're all dressed to the nines here for this sort of just like family picture.
We didn't see hair like this again until Bon Jovi came on the scene.
1790, we still have a French fashion plate, and she's still got lots of hair. In fact, if you look at this, I mean, I had to play around with it. You notice that where the eyes are, usually in a portrait, the eyes are like in the top third,
right.
But they have to be in the bottom third because there's so much hair. You can't fit it in the painting.
I think that you could use a vase to put the beehive hairdo around and then have the tree
sticking out of it.
Yeah.
It would probably save a lot of time. If that's not hair extension, she's got crazy genes that just grow lots of hair because There's no way. There's no way. Nobody's got that much hair. Now, this is actually a two-part. This is two paintings in two pieces, but since it was so long and stretchy wide, I gave it to us in two different chunks. This is called 1793 looks at 1777. So there's this 15-year stretch or whatever, it's 20, whatever time frame stretch here there is. But it's juxtaposing in this painting or in this picture how 1793 is looking back on what the old hairstyle is like. So let's check out the 1793 hair, which is very, very coiffed, tight little curls, but it's not big hair anymore. And the gentleman's hair, he's one of those, right on the very edge of fashion. In fact, past the edge of fashion. His hair doesn't look anything like what hair looked like 20 years earlier. So go ahead and skip to the next one.
People are asking about this necklace. What's going on here?
Hers, which one?
His.
He's probably got like a mini cravat or a mini.
Okay.
Gorget.
I see what's happening. The texture makes it look like it's rope or something. Yeah.
Well, that's his cravat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a cravat and it goes all the way up past his chin and all the way down. She's got a massive cravat on too, if you take a look at it. But go ahead and skip the next one. And see, this is that earlier time period. So this is 1777. She's got high hair and and the dress is super wide and his hair is all sticky up and, completely different. So they're really talking about this, how fashion, both hair and dress fashion, just did a massive about face here from this time period in this 20-year stretch. We can feel like, the 18th century, it all looks like this. And really, there is a revolutionary change in fashion between these kinds of time periods. 1799, and the hair is much more natural, and even though she's got it piled up, it's still not crazy, coiffured like the earlier hair from 20 years earlier, all kind of frizzled out. Much more a natural look, and I think that's even they kind of talk about it as the making even older women's hair look like hair from sort of the style of a child's hair. And even the fashion of the time period is based on very, very young women's clothes or even children's clothes, and they're trying to emulate that in full adult. So I thought I would, again, look back and see what's happening with regular folks' fashion. So we have here a street seller, 1799, selling hot cross buns, and then a family on this one side. So we have two different levels of society, a lower level, sort of a medium level, and we can kind of get some hair. It's like lower class people's hair. It's really not changing a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of change.
Do you still have about a third of the way to go?
Yeah.
Let me jump in here with some super chats real quick, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, so Mark sent in the super chat without a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Matthew, this Matthew here, and that's all that matters. Haha. Also coined for The Witcher. Colin K.
Thank you.
Matt is not here. He keeps promising the show. What a disappointment. But I rarely miss a show, so I just have to be twice the fan to make up for him.
Thank you.
Wow. Thanks, Colin. Another Matthew. Thank you from Hellerton, PA. John Talley says, just got my Townsends Tomahawk in today, so excited. Should I oil the handles? Are there pros and cons? What oil should I use?
You just don't want it to be slippery, right? But usually it's a little slippery at the beginning, and afterwards it's just fine. You can use any number of, anything that's, you could use linseed oil. You could use any number of oils on that.
Typically, I don't talk about the amount of people's donations, but earlier the 100 was meant to be a donation, and that came through. So thank you so much.
Thank
What a
you.
kind
you.
donation.
Very kind.
EH sent in another donation without a comment, and that catches us up. So let's get through the rest of these pictures.
Okay, we're gonna speed through them because, gosh,
Time is flying.
John just keeps yakking and time keeps going.
All right, you ready?
Yes. 1800. Again, this is a miniature. It's a little harder to show super detail, although they do amazing things with miniatures. The hair is full and or not. I mean, nicely taken care of, but in a much more natural way than it was 20 years earlier.
Next.
This one actually feels like throwback hair. Like she's wearing an earlier style hair. This really feels like 1785 hair. I thought it was interesting. 1802 here, and her hair is very, very, frizzed out. And she's got a cap that covers the whole thing. Again, this is a miniature, just a little tiny painting, but interesting that, again, hair is not monolithic over, people, right? So some people just like, I like an older style.
I think it's crazy how much texture they can do in a miniature
in
like
a
that.
little tiny miniature.
When you say miniature, what size do you mean?
This guy's probably, it might only be 2 inches across. I'm not sure. It might be a little bit bigger than that. There's a miniature that we're going to end with that I think is just hilarious, but we got to get there. So there's 1802. I think there's one more. Yep. Again, now we're starting to get into Jane Austen hair. Look at this. A lot more, the kind of, it's all pulled up on top, but it's, again, how do you get that? I want it to feel very, very natural, but yet they have to work really hard at it. It's like, so beautiful 1803. The drawing is just gorgeous, but the hair is
But
beautiful.
isn't that the
too.
truth, though? Even with like video takes or whatever, you want it to feel really natural.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder.
It takes
to
them
do.
3 days to get to natural. Yeah. So I think we skipped now. We're going to go back. All those paintings were pretty much English that we just looked back. Now I said, now wait a minute. What's hair doing in America? What's hair doing in the American colonies and United States after the fact? So now we're going to look at sort of just a short run at specifically American hair. So 1735. If we looked at the 1735 painting of the English hair, it would have been all up, kind of up. The painting style is going to be much more primitive for these. There's not as many American portraits, and there aren't very many American, paintings. Most of them are portraits. So for this time period, but she's got full hair, dark hair, over the shoulder. It feels a little different probably than, maybe even closer to what that 1685 hair looked like on the English painting that we looked at. So maybe this is a little bit older style, and by the time we get a little bit later, it may be a little closer to English hair. There you go, 1760, and yeah, this looks a lot more like the 1740 hair of the English. The fashion is up and high and tight and not big hair. This again is a well-to-do person. She's holding a tea cup on one hand. She's got jewelry, and her hair is very, very contained, very close to her head. 1781, we're in America, and we've got big hair. Her hair looks a lot like the English hair of the time period, and it looks like someone, put on this giant hat on her head. These hats always look like somehow
deal?
it's out of proportion.
Yeah, it's like the goofy foam fake hats,
exactly, like a huge cowboy hat. That's what it feels like to me. So she's got like a riding habit on, and she's got the big hair, and it's powdered probably. So she's very much. It is powdered. Look at her shoulder. We can see the hair powder on her garment. So very much emulating English hair of exactly that time period. $17.95. Again, typical hair. This is another one of those little miniatures. Very reminiscent of that hair that we saw with the group of 4 women in the English. I don't think she's got a hat on her head, even though the sort of dip in the middle kind of makes
she's
you
got
feel...
the heart do like the Queen in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Again, probably powdered by the looks of the color. I mean, she's got very, very dark eyebrows, and yet her hair is sort of grayed. So she's going with that powdered hair look. And we're going to end with this one, which I just love. 1800, a miniature.
Wow.
And the look on the little girl's face. Love it. But look at that hair. Very much, emulating those English hairstyles that we saw earlier. Just dead on. The children, almost a little pixie cut on the girl. Now, what I think is hilarious is that the woman's wearing a miniature.
Yeah.
The miniature.
It's awesome.
Now, it would be really funny if he was wearing a miniature, but dang, he couldn't manage to get that small, right? But again, we get to this feel that the Americans in their hair are following pretty close to what those English hairstyles are, and the English are really just following along with the French here. But again, big changes. In some ways, like it goes from simple natural hair to crazy unnatural hair, and then right back to getting back to normal with these hairstyles.
So somebody in the chat's asking, who was setting the trends? Who was the Hollywood of the time period?
Well, it's going to be the French, and specifically people like Marie Antoinette. They're the folks. The French and the royalty or almost royalty folks are really setting the trends for fashion, and then it trickles, boils down to both other countries, other continents, and then down through the socioeconomic levels until, as you get down to the bottom, it's like, we can only do what we can do with our hair, right? So the same thing is happening with men's hair. You do your best to look like you have, the highest quality or the most fashionable that you can with the money you have available. And in some places, in some ways, people are spending way more than they should to look like they have a lot of money in their hair class than they really are.
So Nigel's in Super Chat. Money towards the powder budget. Looking forward to seeing the hairdos next week.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I was going to wear a wig today. Joe, I messed that up.
I had no idea. I wish that you had remembered. Speaking Style, Tony's in Super Chat. The early 1800 hair has a very Greek look. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, it's what's going on with that fashion, that Brutus haircut, the haircut that looks like Caesar. Napoleon's wearing that Caesar-like haircut.
That's happening in architecture too.
Yes,
the Greek
exactly.
revolutions.
That classical, neoclassical thing, whether it's going on with fashion or going on with hair or going on with architecture. It's all happening at the same time.
All right. You've got to finish up your Patreon list, right?
The last third of the Patreon list. Saturnian Mandala. Stadia Carter McNeese. Rick Steele. Brian McClymans. Lori and Andrea Morrigan. A lot of folks. Help us do what we do by giving us a monthly pledge, whatever you might want to call it, on Patreon. And that gives us a stable base to know what we can possibly do. Things, it makes possible special equipment to make neat videos, or we're able to go on trips to do videos like I was able to go down to St. Augustine and shoot a whole bunch of great videos that basically, if it weren't for this kind of thing, it would be almost impossible to know that we can, stretch out and do those things. So you guys make it possible. Thank you.
I'm going to hand it off to Aaron because he's going to ask people about likes. And can you talk about YouTube membership real quick?
For sure. So we are pretty close to the Townsend 1,000. I think we can do it if we all work together. And I'd also like to point out the join button near the like and dislike spot. Basically, it's a YouTube membership. It helps us out every month. You get custom emojis. You get a tag by your name in the chat so we see you when you comment. And it's just a fun way to help us out and to get involved with what's going on. You get a logo that changes every few months. There are a couple people who are going to get the year emoji coming up here, so that's exciting.
Real close.
So that's just a way to support us, and we appreciate, and everything is appreciated, and yeah, that's what
John
that is.
Cola's in Super Chat says, for John's nutmeg addiction. Very kind.
I'm running out. Got to fill up the vault. I've got a special announcement before we get any further. Can I do it? Can I do it now?
Go for it.
I need to talk to, I want to have a special live stream with Patreon people tomorrow. That's special. When I do a live stream on Saturday, it's special. So if you guys are Patreon members, I haven't sent out the notification yet on Patreon, but watch for that. And if you're able to, really need to connect with you guys on Patreon. So watch for that if you're a Patreon person.
Somebody's in the Super Chat saying, anything special for Easter? A reading, perhaps? So I'm just throwing that out there for you to simmer on.
I'll simmer.
I think it's time to sign off.
Tell you what, it's been a crazy week catching up from the trip and getting everything. It feels like it's like starting to simmer boil here at Townsends because lots of stuff is going on, lots of content and other projects here in the works. So I'm so super excited that you were here on this live stream hanging out with us today. It's always a blast, and we're gonna just keep doing it, you know. Monday's video is gonna be exciting, so watch out for that. If you're a Patreon person, watch your email for, or just check in on the Patreon site. And again, everyone who supported us, whether it's Patreon or Super Chat or merch, going and checking out the Kitchen Pepper, all these things, watching the videos, sharing the videos, all those things make a massive difference to what we are capable of doing, both just, you know, mentally, physically, with your morale. You guys make it happen. Thanks for coming along on this trip with us into the Nutmeg Tavern, and have a great weekend.
This came in our Super Chat. So glad there are people looking after history like you are. I've been a fan for a long time. Another one is from Jameson. Was the guillotine haircut a sign of rebellion? We'll have to talk about that sometime. $5 worth of nutmeg. If you guys send in more Super Chats, I can't read them, but thank you so much. Take care. Thank you.